Good afternoon, everyone. Across the valley, some rivers and dams are full, and now there's concern that some may not be able to bear the pressure of the standing water. In Pembina County, the National Guard has come in to help stabilize the area. That's where we find Valley News Team's Nishay Taylor live for us this afternoon. Nishay, what are you seeing?
Stacy, right now I'm seeing a road closure. If you can see to my right here, there's a road closure sign. I'm along Highway 5 where the Bourbonnais Dam is situated. Also, there's a bunch of vehicles about a mile down where individuals are there just trying to help mitigate this situation. Now, as mentioned, as of right now, the dam has not broken, but county officials say that they are just working hard to help mitigate this situation. They say that they're not too concerned about it breaking at this time now, but after speaking with some residents, I learned that they seem to be a little worried because many are parking on the side of the road just trying to see what's happening over here. And earlier today some told me that they saw helicopters flying over the dam just trying to drop some of those sandbags to help stop this situation from happening. Now, I spoke with Pembina County Emergency Management and they told me they will be debriefing later tonight, so hopefully by morning we'll have more information on this situation. In Pembina County, Nishay Taylor, Valley News Live.
All right, thanks so much, Nishay, for that live report. Summer joins us now with a look at river levels. Summer?
Thank you so much, and thanks all for joining us on this Tuesday evening. Let's continue our flood coverage. It's been ongoing now for several weeks, and some areas still are not getting better. All of these green boxes on this map here, the larger green boxes, those are ongoing river flood warnings, aerial flood warnings, all types of flood warnings. The little dots indicate some area river gauges and what some of those levels are at. I want to take a zoom in to Pembina and Cavalier counties and show just where some of these dams are at. Here's Walhalla for reference. Down to the south, we have the Bourbonnais Dam. Just downstream, we have the Renwick Dam. There's Accra right there, Cavalier, and all of these dams, if they were to potentially break, they will lead into the Turtle River. That Turtle River goes through Cavalier, eventually heading up to the Pembina River and emptying into the Red River at Pembina, which is already in major flood stage. That Pembina River, or the Red River at Pembina, I should say, last check was 51.08 feet as of 2:30. It's continuing to rise. It's going to stay high through the rest of this week, reaching about 53 feet by this weekend. And there is more rain in the forecast for this weekend. Right now, we're continuing to track that overland and breakout flooding, especially in parts of the Central Valley and the Northern Valley. Rivers are still rising in some areas. Some Red River areas are still rising. Some parts of the Cheyenne still rising. Other tributaries in some locations are still rising. The dry weather that we have today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, that's really helping in the flood fight, so we can slow down the process just a bit. So that is helping. Coming up, Stacey, we'll be talking about a beautiful evening to get out and enjoy, and when we can expect some rain to return to the valley.
All right, Summer, thanks so much. New for you here at 4, a traffic stop in Moorhead led to another large fentanyl bust. On Sunday, just before 1 a.m., a police officer was on patrol when they saw a vehicle hit the median on 20th Street near Bellesley Boulevard. According to police, they pulled the car over and the driver gave a fake name. When police searched the car, they found 300 suspected M30 fentanyl pills worth approximately $10,000. Shenanda Fleming and Abraham Johnson are facing charges for controlled substance since March. This is the 4th significant fentanyl seizure in Clay County. Also new at 4, Attorney General Drew Wrigley filed a civil action against Bismarck-based photography studio Glosser Images owner Jack Glosser and 3 other defendants today. Glosser suddenly closed the studio back in October, laying off employees and subcontractors and posting notice that refunds would not be provided to customers. The Attorney General's office received more than 500 complaints during a consumer fraud investigation. Wrigley says Glosser falsely claimed the closure on the pandemic and continued to borrow money while enjoying a luxurious lifestyle. They're asking for restitution for consumers and subcontractors and civil penalties against the company. They're hoping to also prevent Glosser from running a similar business in the future. One man is facing several charges in connection to a string of burglaries in Jamestown. Yesterday, police responded to a home in the southwest part of the city for the report of a car burglary. When authorities were talking to the first victim, they learned another person in that same area had their garage and vehicle broken into. That area of town has reported several burglaries in the past week. Police were able to identify a suspect, get a warrant, and search his home. They arrested 28-year-old Alexander Emmons for 2 counts of burglary and 4 counts of unlawful entry into a motor vehicle. This afternoon, local groups are sharing their reaction to the possibility of Roe v. Wade being overturned. Planned Parenthood North Central States announced a media event regarding the decision. That organization has one clinic in Moorhead, and Planned Parenthood North Dakota Advocate says they plan to hold a demonstration at the federal courthouse in Fargo in about an hour. The Red River Valley Women's Clinic posted a notice on their website letting women know that abortion is still legal and their appointments at the clinic are safe. Shockwaves are reverberating throughout Washington and the nation on that issue today. President Biden said returning the issue to the states would be a, quote, fundamental shift. Skylar Henry reports from the Supreme Court.
Demonstrators stood outside of the U.S. Supreme Court for hours after Politico published a bombshell draft opinion from February that could reverse the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision legalizing abortion. In it, Justice Samuel Alito wrote, "It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives."
It is certainly a decision that needs to be handed back to the states.
I think women should maintain the right to choose and have autonomy over their own body.
President Biden says if the draft opinion stands, it would be, quote, a radical decision.
If the rationale of the decision as released were to be sustained, the whole range of rights are in question.
Chief Justice John Roberts issued a statement calling the February released document authentic, but he adds it doesn't represent a final decision from the court. That is expected in late June or early July. It's unclear how Justice Roberts will decide, though it appears the High Court's other conservative justices are poised to side with Alito, or they could also change their minds.
If it goes in the direction that this leaked copy has indicated, it rocks my confidence in the court right now.
We know history is on our side, and we're determined to preserve these precious rights that are the bedrock of this great nation.
Congressional Democrats have vowed to take a vote on abortion rights legislation, and they say overturning Roe v. Wade could have major implications for the upcoming midterm elections. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
President Biden has also called on Congress to pass a law codifying the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision, but that would face an uphill battle. Lawmakers from both sides are reacting strongly to the potential Supreme Court decision. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi issued a blistering joint statement on the move. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham criticized the leak, but he says he supports states taking over the decision-making.
Before 1973, this was the process, and if a state does something that's that there's a backlash against the people who voted, then you take care of it at the ballot box. And you know what you think the right answer is will be a state decision, not 9 people in the court.
Democrats continue warning that an end to federal abortion rights likely would scramble this year's midterm elections. Amazon says they'll pay up to $4,000 to cover expenses for their employees who need to travel at least 100 miles to receive certain medical treatments, including elective abortions. The tech giant is also ending its COVID-19 paid sick leave policy, telling employees they now have 5 days of excused unpaid time off to use instead. Ukrainian fighters say Russian forces have begun storming a steel plant in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol. The development comes as President Biden visits an Alabama facility that makes missiles, which the United States is supplying to Ukraine. Tita Kraus has the latest from London.
Black smoke rose from the steel plant in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol after Russian forces resumed shelling what's likely the last pocket of resistance in the besieged port city. Ukrainian fighters said Russian forces began storming the complex just as a convoy carrying more than 100 evacuees arrived safely at a Ukrainian-controlled city about 100 miles away. Save Azovstal! Save Azovstal! Relatives of the Ukrainian forces who remained at the Azovstal plant held a rally in Kyiv demanding their loved ones be evacuated. Meantime, in Ukraine's second largest city of Kharkiv, firefighters put out flames officials say were caused by Russian shelling. The new offensive comes amid concerns Russia could be planning to annex much of eastern Ukraine after making only incremental gains in the last day or two.
Progress has been plodding for sure, slow, uneven. They continue to face a very stiff Ukrainian resistance.
In an effort to aid Ukrainian resistance, President Biden traveled to a Lockheed Martin facility in Alabama that makes Javelin missiles. They're among the weapons the U.S. is providing to Ukraine.
You're making it possible for the Ukrainian people to defend themselves without us having to risk getting in a third world war by sending in American soldiers fighting Russian soldiers.
The president is urging Congress to quickly pass the Ukraine supplemental funding bill. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced $475 million in new military aid for Ukraine, including radar, drones, and armored vehicles. The WNBA will honor Phoenix's Brittany Griner with a floor decal and allow the Mercury to pay her without it counting against the team's cap, the league just announced. The All-Star center remains in Russia after being detained following her arrival back on February 17th. Russian authorities said a search of her luggage revealed vape cartridges that allegedly contained oil derived from cannabis, which could carry a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison.